Sup guys, Christos here. In today's video, I want to talk about why I was actually wrong when I said that you needed an emergency fund and what I think you should be doing actually instead to make the most of your hard-earned savings. Now, I know this one isn't going to go down too well with the majority of the financial community, and it was only just a few months back that I was saying the same things. But before you do jump in the comment section with any hate, just bear in mind that this is all just my own opinion, but do stick around because I think that this brand new perspective that I actually have could actually change the way that you think about it as well. So basically what I'm going to be doing throughout this video is presenting to you my case as to why I actually don't think you need an emergency fund and two things that you should be doing with your money instead. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, so let's start off with why I actually think an emergency fund is bad now. And let's start off with the main reason, and that is inflation. With inflation rates being estimated to hit new highs both this year and next year, it's obvious to point out that the money in your savings accounts earning little to no interest is over time going to just simply rot away every single year. Just for example, let's say that the rate of inflation rose at a 1% increase every single year for 10 years and you didn't in fact have any emergencies to pay for. Given an example of £10,000 stashed away, that means that over that course of time, you would have essentially just burned off £1,000 off your emergency fund. Another reason why I think emergency funds are now bad is that I've realized that not everyone has the same mindset as me. And for me, with emergency funds and when I had my emergency fund, when I had the savings in my account, I had absolutely zero urge to spend those savings. I knew exactly the purpose it was there for. I knew that if I was taking money away from it, I'm taking money away from my emergency fund, but not everyone has that same psychology, and facts actually prove this, where it's actually a known fact that if people, based on a survey that is, have money available that they can take out, they are more inclined to spend it. And that is just simply the way that the world works. And if you are doing that, then you are essentially not having an emergency fund. You are completely going against the point of stashing that money away for an emergency if you are spending it every single month. So that's another reason why I think they are completely pointless. And realistically, that is basically why I think a cash emergency fund is going to be really bad and why I have actually changed my mind. What I'm actually going to do now is dive into the two options which I think you should be doing for an emergency fund instead of just stashing away that money in your bank. So let's get into that. Okay, so the first thing that I think everyone should be doing is, instead of having that money sat in a cash pot, is investing that money that we would have had stashed away into things such as low cost and low risk index funds and ETFs. These are really good investments that you can invest into every single month that over the long term is actually going to bring you in even more money at a much lower risk. Now, of course, as you just heard, I just said low risk, which of course means there's going to be some risk involved in this strategy. However, if you do not want to take any risk at all and you are still looking for a better way to utilize your emergency fund, then stick around for number two because I have the perfect solution for you. But anyways, for me, investing into an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 has always been a really good play and has actually made me thousands of pounds in interest in comparison to me just leaving my money in a stupid, boring savings account. This year alone, the S&P 500 has actually produced a 16% return on investment, meaning that if we invested, let's say £5,000 of an emergency fund, the value of that would actually be currently £5,800 right now, which would be a nice £800 profit in just 10 months for doing absolutely nothing, sitting in an account just like it would be with your bank, doing nothing, but instead with an investment account, you're going to have £800 extra to play with. But wait, what if that money doesn't go up? Because of course, not all investments in the past indicate the performance of the future. What if that money actually goes down? What happens to our emergency fund then? Okay, so using the S&P 500 once again as an example, let's actually take a look at this chart that actually details the largest drops in a single year of this index. And as you can see, roughly the average highest drop percentage wise in a single year ranges anything between 3 and 5%. And remember, this usually happens like once or twice a year, and that basically means that if you had an emergency fund, let's say again worth £5,000, a drop of 3% would mean that the value of your account that you could potentially sell and access straight away would be £4,850, meaning that during that one day you would have lost £150. Now, For investing your emergency fund to be classed as a bad idea over leaving it in a savings account, what I think would need to happen is that your emergency would have to take place on the day that the market drops in its highest fashion, and the cost of your emergency to exceed more than the value that you have in your account. So if you're asking me, number one, you would have to be the unluckiest person on earth because the odds on this happening are extremely low. And then secondly, if an emergency takes place that exceeds, let's say, our example of £4,850, the likelihood is it's going to exceed £5,000, which also means that if you just had this in a savings account, either way, you're going to be screwed. But like I said, the chances of this happening are so low, and you would literally have to be the unluckiest person on earth. And actually, here's another thing. If you put your emergency fund money into, let's say, an index fund, but then instead you decided to keep investing and contributing to that fund afterwards, that means that you're going to have even more money in case there was an emergency of one kind or another. And in terms of how you can access this fund, well, it's actually really simple. All you have to do is sell a proportion of your investment. You don't have to sell it all. If you needed just £100, you can just sell £100 worth of your shares. You can always then put it back in a month later. But for me, you've really got to get all of your money working for you. We are now in a world where, like I said, inflation is becoming higher than ever and our cash is becoming worth less and less every single year. And with the ability to track your investments on something as simple as your phone, it's now easier than ever to be able to get your money in and get your money out whenever you want. Guys, I really can't stress how important it is to make your money work for you. I know that I keep going on about it, but it's how the rich get richer, and it's always something I said I wish I started sooner myself. And this could be any kind of investment. I know we've just used the stock market as an example. We could be the stock market, it could be property that you want to invest into, it could be alternative assets, it could be crypto if you wanted something a little bit more higher risk. But please, just start making your money go further, because the banks are not going to do that for you. And like I said, with inflation, once again, you will simply just fall behind. If you really wanted my honest opinion, what I would try and do is diversify as much as possible across different asset classes. So maybe some investments into the stock market, maybe some investments into some bonds, maybe some investments into the property game, crypto, gold, silver. There's so many different investments that you can actually make. But the one thing that you should do is definitely diversify, because this of course is going to lower your risk in the long term. Now, if you wanted to check out some videos on investing, then make sure you do head over to my YouTube channel, which you're on of course right now, but check out the playlist which is titled Investing. I've got plenty of content on all of that over there. Now, the second way that you can make the most of your emergency fund, and this one has absolutely zero risk at all, and that is actually by cheating the system. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're probably sitting there thinking, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. Surely this is all illegal. Well, no, it's not actually, because basically in the UK, what we actually have is a government funded scheme called the Lifetime Savings ISA. This is also known as a LISA, and basically the rules of this ISA is that you can actually put up to £4,000 every single year into this account completely tax-free until you're the age of 50. And what the government will actually do is, with every contribution that you make, they will match it with a 25% bonus. This means that if you invest the full £4,000 every single year you would get £1,000 added in complimentary by the government. But there's a catch. To be able to withdraw that money with the added bonus, you would actually need to either be buying a house over the age of 60 or terminally ill. However, if you did want to withdraw that money for a different reason, like an emergency, you still can, but in this case you would incur a 25% charge, which would basically take off that government bonus plus a very small piece of your original investment. For example, if you needed enough cash to cover a £120 bill, you would actually have to withdraw more than what you actually require. What you would have to do is withdraw £160, meaning that you would pay a 25% withdrawal charge of £40 and receive the £120 in cash to meet the bill. This would ultimately end up as a £10 loss to your account, account. But of course, the main goal of this is not to withdraw any money so that we can get up to an extra £1,000 every year at absolutely zero risk. For me, this one right here, unlike the investing one, is going to be the one that should be an absolute no-brainer and should be the absolute minimum that people should be doing instead of having their monies just sat in that bank's savings account. And that is pretty much it. Exactly why I think having a cash-based emergency fund is really bad, and the two ways that you can still have money set aside for an emergency, but at the same time give yourself every chance of growing that wealth in the future. Now, before I go, if you haven't got your free stock worth up to £200, then make sure you check out the link in my description down below. And also, if you haven't joined the completely free investing Discord group, then make sure you go and check that out as well. But having said all that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you did, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.